Nah, it's no big secret that inflation, maybe even recession. We've heard that word thrown around for a while. According to the Fed's 2022 Economic Well-Being of U.S. Household Survey, boy, there's a long one, 37% of Americans lack enough money to cover a $400 emergency expense. That's up from 32%. Basically 4 out of 10 of us. Let's talk to a financial dude sickle. This guy knows his money. This guy is he's the guy in his house that says, what's that, money burning a hole in your pocket? You save it? Financial strategist, director of client relations at Key City Capital, Stephen Patterson joins us to talk about this. Hey, Stephen, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm good. We just suck at money, don't we?
Well, I'm afraid in Washington, D.C. we do.
What about personal finance? Is anyone really that good with their money, though?
You know, what I tell everyone is, you're an expert in your field, whatever that may be. But there are people out there that study these things that can give sound advice. Certified financial advisors will go a long way to helping you get your retirement straightened out and helping you with your day-to-day bills, prioritizing, and improving your overall credit score. So working with a financial advisor goes a long way.
So who is to blame for this 4 out of 10 not being able to afford anything? Is it consumer prices? Is it our own spending habits? Is it all of the above?
Well, unfortunately, credit card debt has hit all-time highs in our country, and that's how Americans are dealing with inflation. But it's not any different than how our federal government deals with things. We've got an addiction to debt. It's buy it today and pay for it tomorrow. Unfortunately, those debts do come home, and we're seeing that now. And, the scary part is when you have that many Americans that can't afford a $400 emergency, it should give everyone pause. There needs to be an accounting of that household budget to say, how do we put together a reasonable emergency plan?
What if you're not making enough to put together that emergency plan? I mean, you go, yeah, well, you know what? We're going to put $50 a month aside. What if you don't have $50 a month?
Yeah, that's, and that's the next challenge, right? And so we have to look at the economic factors that led to this problem, and this is where I come back to, that old saying that elections have consequences. We need to really think about what got us to this point with inflation. What are our federal officials doing that has created this situation? Because when groceries skyrocket, when oil and gas skyrockets, that inflation that we're talking about is essentially a tax. You're paying a tax for federal spending in the form of inflation. And so, we really need to think about what are the decisions that we're making that are creating the environment that we're now living in.
I am, I would say, privileged enough. I am not one. I want to be. To know several entrepreneurs, business owners, people who, and there's a difference between just being a business owner or being an actual entrepreneur. And I've had him on the show before. A friend of mine invented something called the Great Plate. It's a picnic plate, for crying out loud. We didn't need another picnic plate, but he makes tons of money at it. And he told me, Rick is his name. He says, inflation, recession, I just choose not to participate. What does that mean? Oh, now, on his level, it probably means something different, I suppose.
There are people in our country that have enough money that, if gas rises 50 cents, it probably doesn't matter. If groceries go up 10, 15%, it probably doesn't matter. But I think to the vast majority of the American public, we notice those things. We feel those things. And, to be indifferent to what's going on right now, is to just, effectively bury your head in the sand and say, well, it's all going to work out. And the reality of it is, the path that we're on doesn't work out. We are now, national debt is now 100% of GDP. We haven't been that high since coming out of World War II. There are real alarm bells sounding here, and real people are suffering. Second jobs have become the norm. not the exception. We used to see side hustles.
Yeah.
Head and put a little back. Now that side hustle has become a necessity. We need our elected officials to take note of this and make some really hard decisions about federal spending that's affecting all of these things.
Yeah, and I want to get back to my friend Rick in that. Well, and let me clarify. When he says, because I'm like, well, yeah, that's good for you, Mr. Plate Inventor guy. But he said, no. When times get tough, because the cost of plastic is up, the cost of labor is up, the cost of shipping is up. It all trickles down, right? And we all pay at a different level. What he was saying was, he says, you know what? When things get hard, I figure out ways to create more wealth, a different way to sell, a different outlet for my product. And I started thinking about that. Do we all have that in us? Do we all have... it's a side hustle and a second job, but if we get out of that second job sort of idea and think, how else can I make some extra cash? Maybe I don't know, that just comes back to side hustle, I guess, doesn't it?
It does, but I think the other thing that we have the most direct control of is how do we control certain spending habits? Is that cable bill really necessary? Are there ways to pare down that cell phone bill? Are there ways to eat at home a few more nights a week rather than eating out? Things that will have a dramatic impact on the budget if you can be disciplined on that over a 30-day period of time.
I will say, and this is why I like Rick, I keep bringing him up, but he's a shining example to me. They ate beans and weenies and peanut butter and jelly for a long time at that house when they were building this company. That is that. Stephen Patterson is the name at Key City Capital. The way out, then, in a nutshell, Stephen, is what?
It's fiscal discipline. It's ingenuity of looking for that side hustle, if you will. And then it's, having an understanding of what's happening in Washington, D.C. that's directly affecting your pocketbook in Middle America, and how do we send the right message?
All right. Stephen, we appreciate your efforts and your expertise. I hope you can be back on with us sometime soon. Financial strategist, director of client relations, place called Key City Capital. Stephen Patterson is our guest. And, hey, have a great weekend, Memorial Day weekend, okay? Be safe out there.
You too. Thank you.